ask questions there through the conversation. But we're also going to be able to stream it to Facebook. Now, unfortunately, there's a delay as we stream it to Facebook, so getting to those questions will be a lot more difficult. If you have questions and you don't have Instagram, put them on Facebook and we'll try to get to them. But if you have Instagram, or if you can download Instagram, that would be the best way to get your questions to Pastor Tony Clark. All right, well, with your Bibles open to 2 Kings chapter 4 and 5, let's begin with our devotional. The story picks up in chapter 4 with Elisha, who's now the prophet of Israel. He's taken the mantle from Elijah, and a widow she was married to a prophet. He just died, and so she's a recent widow. She comes up to Elisha. She says to him, I don't know what to do. I'm poor. My husband just died, and my 2 sons are going to be shipped off to be servants to pay off the debt. I can't lose my husband and my boys back to back. Like, please help me. And so Elisha says to him, well, what do you have? And essentially she says, I don't have anything. And after a little bit of prodding, she says, okay, I have a jar and some oil, and that's it. I've got nothing else. Like, I am truly poor. And Elisha says, that's fine. We can use that. And so he asks her to go get a bunch of jars from the town and to bring them to her house and to use what she has and pour it into those jars. Now, as after every jar is full, then that jar that she was originally using, it stops producing oil. And in this is just a beautiful picture of the Lord using what we have, right? I mean, we think of Moses with his staff. He had nothing. He was completely humble, maybe even humiliated as he went to the Lord. He once was in a position of great prominence. Then he goes to the Lord and he says, I got nothing. The Lord says, what's in your hand? He goes, well, it's just a stick. And God uses that stick, that rod, to dethrone the essentially king of the world at the time, the king of the known world at least, the Pharaoh in Egypt. He uses a stick, he uses a staff. And here in this story, he uses a jar of oil, and she pours it out, and she pours out so much of it that she's able to pay off of her debt. Once again, we see, guys, that God is the master at using what we have. You know, sometimes we, like this widow, like Moses, we can get discouraged and feel like we really don't have much. We compare ourselves with other people and we go, I've got nothing. I can't give to God what I have because what I have is nothing. I know I've been there before. I listen to other pastors present the Word of God, and I'm just blown away by their creativity, by the organization of their sermons. I'm blown away by their eloquence of speech, how they don't stutter. Their thoughts, it stays very consistent. They're just not hesitating. They're not distracted by things. And I go, why am I even doing this? It's crazy. It's amazing how that discouragement is an attack of the enemy, but a clear view of what we have and who we serve is actually a benefit in our relationship with God. So the one side, the enemy can use it, but when we're actually viewing it the way we should, that yes, I'm weak, but you are strong, we see that the Lord can come through and use what we perceive to be either nothing or a weakness. So I want to encourage you, whatever you have, dedicate it to the Lord. And I want to encourage you to do it today. Do it now. You can even pause the video if you like, or you can, at the end of the video, do it, but just say, Lord, what I have is yours. I don't know what it is. Maybe you say the little creativity I have, the little skill with my hands that I have, the brain power that you've given to me, like all of it, I'm going to dedicate to you, and I'm going to ask you to use it. I know that he can use it in great ways. So then after that story, we see that Elisha is the prophet now in Israel, so he's traveling all over. He gets to a town called Shunem. Now, as he gets to that town, this awesome, hero, kind of like a hidden hero in the text shows up, and that's just this random Shunammite. She's just a lady who's married, and she hears of Elisha traveling, and she's like, you know what? He's going to come through our town a lot, so why don't we just make him a room? And that way, whenever he comes, there's no motels or hotels in their day. So whenever he comes, he has a place to stay. Don't you love people like that? People are just like so forward thinking. They're really hospitable. They set things up for you before you could even think about it, before you could even ask for it. It's ready. That's how this woman was. Now, to show her his gratitude, Elisha talks to Gehazi, his servant, and Gehazi says, listen, the best thing we could do for this woman is to pray for her to have a child. And so Elisha says to her, By this time next year, you're going to be holding a baby in your arms. The woman is thrilled, and then the prophecy comes to pass. And then several years later, as the text continues, we see that this boy, something happens to him. He cries out to his dad when they're out in the field that his head hurts, and the dad rushes him home. We don't know if he got a head injury or if it was a brain aneurysm or what, but the boy dies in his mom's lap. And the mom goes out to find Elisha. She begs him to come back. Elisha prays over the boy. The boy is resurrected. And in this we see that the spirit of Elijah really has come upon Elisha as he prayed for a double portion of the spirit in his life. Then the chapter continues, and Elisha gives us 2 food miracles. We see that at one point the guys cry out that there's death in the pot. And so Elisha purifies the pot by throwing some flour in it. Just a miracle. You know that flour doesn't cure poison or salmonella. So it's a miracle of the Lord. And then after that, Elisha feeds 100 guys with very little. And once again, we see that the Lord is masterful at using what we have. But then when we get to chapter 5, it's a new story, but it's a very famous story. It's the story of Naaman. Naaman is a great military leader. In fact, it says that he is a mighty man of valor. But Naaman has a secret. You see, underneath Naaman's armor, he has the disease of leprosy. And it's just an interesting picture to me that we can present ourselves as totally put together, everything's fine, and yet underneath that outer layer that we present to people, there's actually something majorly wrong going on. And we see that the Lord, to do the miracle in Naaman's life, he first has to humble him. I once heard a pastor say before he could heal him, he had to humble him. And we see the way he humbles him is he speaks to Naaman through 2 servants. I think it's interesting. Sometimes the source in which God is using to speak to us identifies the problem in which God is dealing with us, right? So if the Lord speaks to you through a child, maybe you need some humility. But the servant girl who is taken from the land of Israel, she says to Naaman's wife, if only he would go see the prophet in Samaria, he would be healed. And then the wife relays the message to Naaman. Naaman relays the message to the king. And in this we see just the proclamation of one little girl eventually makes its way all the way up to the king. Don't tell me that you can't proclaim the good news, that you can't tell somebody about Jesus or what Jesus has done for you or what Jesus can do for that person. Just the words of a servant girl make it all the way up to the king. And there, the king sends the king of Israel saying, essentially, please heal Naaman. and the king of Israel freaks out, goes, I can't do this. He's trying to wage war with me. He's asking me to do something I can't do. And he tears his clothes. And then Elisha sends messenger to the king saying, why is it that you've torn your clothes? Send Naaman to me, and Naaman will be healed. And so Naaman shows up. Now understand that when Naaman shows up, he shows up with pomp and frill. Like he shows up, he's got the little trumpeter out in front proclaiming his presence. He has all the gifts to bring. And Elisha, again, humbling Naaman, right? Elisha doesn't even go out to meet him. Elisha sends out Gehazi, or at least it doesn't tell us there, but we're assuming it's Gehazi, who's his servant, sends him out to go and greet Naaman. And Naaman is infuriated that Elisha himself doesn't come out. And then he's infuriated by the thing that Elisha tells him to do. He says, go travel some 30 miles from here and dip in the Jordan River. Do it 7 times and you're going to be healed. You go, what on earth is that about? Is there anything special about the Jordan River? No, it's just dirty water, right? Is there anything special about dipping 7 times? Nope. All of this is just simply to humble Naaman. And Naaman responds with outrage. He goes, aren't the rivers in my homeland better than this? Like, I'm not going to do it. And then once again, another servant. Actually, it says the servants of Naaman. They must love their master because they come up and they go, Master, listen, if he asked you to do something great, you'd have done it. But he's asking you to do something simple. So why not just do it? Let's just go the 30 miles to the Jordan. Let's have you dip 7 times. Let's see if it works. And so Naaman humbles himself and goes. And I believe because he humbled himself, although his obedience was reluctant, it still was obedience. And there, it's just a great picture, right? You got this amazing military leader. He strips off all of his armor. Everyone now sees his weakness exposed. That right there is humiliating. That's humbling. And so this proud man with his weakness on full display has to dip down in the muddy Jordan River. He does it once. And just imagine, right? This water is falling off of his beard, and he stands up humiliated. He goes, 1. And he dips down again. He's like, 2. I mean, you just imagine, right? How humiliating this was for him. But then I think that the hope begins to well up inside of him. And after 6, he goes down, he comes up on the 7th, and he is completely clean. It's amazing, isn't it? That when we can humble ourselves, when we can expose our weakness to those who love us and invested in our life, it's amazing what the Lord can do. I want to encourage you, don't hide behind an outer shell that you've created. This outer shell is just simply pride. And the Lord wants to deal with the actual issue, which is underneath your supposed armor. And so then Naaman goes back, and he is just so thankful, and he wants to give Elisha tons of stuff. And I love, Elisha's just a great picture of the heart of ministry. He goes, I don't need your stuff. I'm good. You see, in ministry, oftentimes pastors are all about the stuff. Leaders are all about the money. But not Elisha. He doesn't care. He's like, I don't need your things. I just wanted you to be healed. I just wanted you to know that there is a God in Israel, right? And so Naaman thanks him and leaves. And Gehazi, the servant of Elisha, who's already kind of shown us a dark side in the previous story with the Shunammite woman, when she cries out to Elisha to heal her boy, she grabs onto him, and Gehazi goes to hit her, to keep her away. So we already have seen a little bit of a dark streak revealed in Gehazi. He goes after Naaman because he is incensed that his master wouldn't take some of the spoil that Naaman wanted to give to him. And so he goes to him, and he completely bold-faced lies. And he goes, I know my master said we didn't need anything, but then we had these 2 visitors come, and we need all these things. And Naaman gladly gives it to him. But I think the reason why Elisha didn't want to give anything, or didn't want to receive anything, was because he didn't want Naaman to think that the reason he was healed was because of something he did, a gift that he gave. I think God was doing something bigger. And Gehazi, not seeing what God's doing, only seeing what he himself wants, right? In ministry, that's a huge lesson, to see what is God doing rather than what do I want. So Gehazi totally blows it. He takes the stuff, he hides it, and you just go, what's wrong with this guy? He has seen Elisha purify food, multiply food, raise someone from the dead, right? Like, he's seen Elisha do incredible things. And so Gehazi comes back, and Elisha goes, hey Gehazi, where were you? Giving him an opportunity to tell the truth. Giving him the opportunity to fess up. And I believe if Gehazi would have said, I'm sorry, I blew it. I left and I did this. If he would have just confessed, I don't think he would have received the same judgment. But instead he said, I went nowhere. Bold-faced lie to the prophet of God. Not a good idea, right? Like, I mean, God can clearly tell Elisha what or where Gehazi went. And so Elisha said, well, Gehazi, I know exactly what you did. And because of that, the leprosy that was once on Naaman now is on you. And so we see that the sin of covetousness, which is what Gehazi had, became personified in the disease of leprosy. It's a perfect picture of sin, right? Slowly numbs us, slowly affects our entire body. It's exactly what happened with Gehazi. So anyways, that's how the story concludes. It kind of concludes with this somber note, but it's a warning to us. Don't allow covetousness, don't allow envy, jealousy to dictate your thinking, especially if you're in ministry, especially if you're a believer and you know the Lord. May you be content in the Lord and in nothing else. All right, God bless you guys. We'll see you again tomorrow as we continue our study through the book of 2 Kings. Hope that these have been a blessing to you. If they have been, go ahead and share them and let people know. Also, let us know. Comment on these videos. Let us know if they're blessing you. Your comments really encourage us because we know that you're interested. We know that you're listening. Like the video, share the video. All that does for us is nothing but encouragement. So please encourage us by doing that. All right, God bless you guys, and we will talk to you soon.